Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DirtTrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of Fingerlakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your hosts, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, welcome to the 31st Lap, episode number 189 on deck. Fun show that we've got lined up here for you tonight. Going to talk a little bit about what's going on down in Florida. I know a lot of the folks are already tuned into what's going on down there. This weekend, we've got Motorama coming up in Harrisburg. If you're not down in Florida, you can at least get out there and check out some of the race cars. We've got some stuff going on locally where you got a chance to go check out some race cars, maybe taking a little bit of RC car racing action at a brand new track coming up here in Auburn. We'll be talking with Jim Olin about Finger Lakes Speedworld here in a few minutes. But first, before we get into anything, some of the local stuff that's going on tied to the activities down at Volusia Speedway at the Dirt Car Nationals. Congratulations to Tim Fuller pulling down a win last night in the modified division. Good run for him in that Rouser prepared car. It's his first win down there since I think 2007. I think he's got 6 or 7 wins down there. He was pretty hot down there for a while. So congratulations to Tim Fuller. He was able to put the car up on the outside, and he drove around Tyler Dipple to get the lead. And from there, he survived a bunch of restarts and Billy Dunn to come away with the win. So congratulations to Tim on that. Tyler Seary starting on the front row. And that main event fell back a little ways through the balance of the feature, coming home with a 24th place finish. And Tyler Dipple also starting on the front row was scored 26th. Billy Dunn finishing second, Billy Pouch third, Lyra White, Matt Shepard filling your top 5, Stu Friesen, Vic Coffey, Brett Hearn, Eric Rudolph, and Peter Britton rounding out the top 10. Peter Britton's name, you're going to be hearing a lot about him here in the coming weeks. News broke last week that he is joining HBR Racing. Now, we saw that big release and the big push that they're downsizing and they're making it more condensed and they're going to put more focus on the Jimmy Phillips car. In so many words, one way or another, now we see that this is now a 4-car stable, a 4-driver stable. Probably more fair to represent it that way. Max McLaughlin, the son of Mike McLaughlin, going to be coming on to run the campaign along with Dave Blaney, which I think is a remarkable pickup. Blaney going to be joining the team when they are not occupied with his efforts with the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series, which is kind of cool to see that he'll be sharing time with Peter Britton when Peter's not in the car. He'll be serving as crew chief on that entry side by side on the Super Dirt Series. It's going to be probably around 16 starts, I believe, for Blaney in that car. Peter Britton's going to be running the car regularly at Canandaigua Motorsports Park, and then running at Brewerton is Mike McLaughlin's son Max, right alongside Jimmy Phelps. So interesting turn of events. We'll be following that. Hopefully we can get Max on the show here in the coming weeks. We were initially set up to have Max on, I think it was a year ago, when he was talking about possibly jumping into a super modified at Oswego, which I saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. made reference of on one of the interviews that he was in over the weekend. I know coming up here right now, we're already live on Fox with the Cam Duels setting the field for Sunday's Daytona 500. Sunday is the 21st, so what does that mean for everybody in Pennsylvania? Harrisburg opens up for the Motorama event. Motorama, tons of activities going on down there. I know a bunch of our friends are heading down for some of the RC action, but they've got BattleBots there. Robart Conflict is something that you don't want to miss, but there's 8,800 seats, I think, at their indoor track, so they've got all different types of race cars that are going to be running indoors down there in addition to the RC stuff. I mean, if it's a huge complex with pretty much every element of racing represented, so you definitely will be able to find something to whet your racing appetite. And it's going to be Saturday and Sunday. Ed Brewster, who we've talked about before, he's got an RC Demolition Derby finally breaking in down there, working with Tyler Spittle, who's from over the Allentown direction. But we talked about that. There's a bunch of that stuff that's starting to come to our area as well, namely Finger Lakes Speedworld, which is where we're going to jump off here quickly and talk a little bit with Jim Olin. Jim, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris.
You've got your hands now on Finger Lakes Speedworld, scheduled for March 19th and 20th. It's just a little over a month away, and you guys have got some pretty interesting stuff going on down there. If anybody wants to find out more about Motorama, real quick, going backwards, motoramaevents.com. They can find anything that they want out there. A bunch of different entry packages and stuff like that if you want to, but bring our attention back to Finger Lakes Speedworld now. Finger Lakes Speedworld, they've got the Facebook page is up and active. Jim, you've been on Facebook off and on all day. You're up to your eyeballs with Speedworld.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. Thank heavens for social media, I guess, because without it, I don't know how many media tools I really had to push this event. I do appreciate you giving me the time to talk about it here.
Oh yeah, man, no problem. Happy to have you on. I'm looking forward to getting over there. We're gonna do a couple 31st lap shows from over there at Speedworld, like we did. I think we did it last year, if not the year before. But I know we've been over there a couple, 2, 3, 4 times now. At one point, we were set up right across from where the pet store used to be, a little bit down the way from Bass Pro. It was a pretty good spot for foot traffic, but hopefully that's going to be one of the spots that's occupied by race cars this year. Sounds like you got a pretty good turnout.
Yeah, we've booked a lot of events for the show. The show has taken a different direction this year. Last year, it wasn't a very popular event. It wasn't really publicized all that much, so we didn't get a lot of interest in the show. This year, it has taken a turn from being a traditional mall show, which was generally just polished up race cars displayed in the corridor, and people could walk by and, look them over, but there wasn't really much interaction past that other than just picking up your racetrack schedules while you were there.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone to a little bit more of an interactive format this year. So there will be a lot of events that incorporate the family into the racing events, a lot of stuff for the kids. And we've got some interactive displays planned, so lots to talk about here.
Well, I mean, the one that caught my attention the most is a tribute to the Moody Mile, which is scheduled for Saturday evening. Tell us a little bit more about that. It looks like that's going to be a little bit of an extended program for anybody who's interested in what the Moody Mile and the racetrack at the Syracuse Fairgrounds meant to dirt racing.
Yeah, I live in Lakeland, so I'm right down the street from the New York State Fairgrounds here. So, I mean, not only is this a huge loss to the racing community, but it's also kind of a personal tragedy because I've been at every Super Dirt Week since 1980.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I was born in '77, if that gives you an idea. So, I haven't missed one. And anyways, so losing that was a personal thing to me, and I wanted to do something as a tribute, but I'm such a small cog in the racing community that I don't know that I could put something together. So when I picked up the Finger Lakes Speedworld show, that's when the wheels started turning on this. Now, the tribute to the mile will be set up in one of the old stores. I believe it's Space B10 in the Finger Lakes Mall, which used to be the Olympia Sports store,
Yep.
which closed a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we have a digital light projector and a theater set up in there so that people can come in. During the entirety of the show, from Saturday and Sunday, we'll be playing past races from the Syracuse Mile. So you'll be able to go in and sit down and watch the ESPN coverage of Super Dirt Week 1980, Super Dirt Week 9, when Gary Ballou brought the 112 car out and changed the face of modified racing as we saw it.
Right.
You'll be able to watch that in the original ESPN coverage from beginning to end.
Wow.
With all the original interviews of Bob Jenkins and Larry Newber and everything. So that'll be a pretty big deal. We also have Super Dirt Week 1985, which is where Brent Ern was driving the number 20 Pepsi car. And you get some great coverage from Steve Evans when they were TNN back then.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Ground Round Super Dirt Week Nationals would be when they used to run the Ground Round World of Outlaws.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm really digging up some history here. But there'll also be, the Wheels 300, the Eckerd's 300, the Schaefer races, whatever races we can put up there, they will be playing the entire weekend.
Sure.
Now, Saturday we move into the presentation, which will be put on by a guy named Gary George, Dr. Gary George. He did the presentation down at the place down in Watkins Glen there, the
motor racing research. Yeah, the racing research center. Yep.
Yeah, that's Kip Zeitner's operation down there. Kip put me on to Gary George. Gary is going to do his presentation at the mall, and he does an initial presentation on the history of the mile, and then he does a whole sidebar presentation pertaining to the Super Dirt Weeks, from the first one all the way up to the last one.
Wow.
And he's very knowledgeable. It's an interactive type presentation. He has videos and slideshow, everything like that, and he'll be doing a great talk. He's a very, very, very well-informed historian of Syracuse and everything that went on at the Moody Mile. So really looking forward to his presentation. So the Saturday, March 19th, in the morning at the Dirt Motorsports Hall of Fame, they will do Joe Murata's racing show. Happens there in the morning. He will do his regular show, and then they go into this this discussion that they're having. Dr. Gary George will be there as well. After that, we're hoping that some of the people from there are going to come with Joe Murata and Jack Spino and the rest of them from the Hall of Fame down to the mall to add to our presentation for the afternoon. So we may have some past drivers from the Moody Mile that are going to come out and maybe share some stories. Also, word has it we may have some of the past personalities from the Moody Mile. Paul Small, Doug Elkins, Joe Murata himself, all up there to share some stories and things that we may or may not already know about the mile and kind of reminiscing. Full racing history. And in the display in the front, we have a gentleman from the Southern Tier that is bringing up an old Pinto dirt modified and a Gremlin dirt modified and possibly another one. And we may have a couple of other vintage modifieds on display for that, plus a lot of Syracuse memorabilia, banners, wherever we can get our hands on to decorate the space. So a lot going on with the tribute to the mile.
That sounds awesome. I can't. Now,
it's a lot of information. I hear you, but
I'm also impressed with, you're talking about the history and the legends and all the other stuff. You're doing the Future All-Stars autograph session and a race for kids and Power Wheels.
Yes, the Saturday, March 19th, during the show, 11 a.m., we are setting up an autograph table for Stars of Tomorrow because we have participation from the Sodas Microd Club and the Syracuse Microd Club, along with Little Wheels out of Freeville. So all of these people will be there on hand with us. We're going to have the drivers that run these microds. These are the kids that come up and they drive the big cars later on. And so, I mean, it's going to be really cool. We're going to have them out there. They're going to have their little driving suits on, and they'll have their hero cards and their pictures, and they're all excited about it and getting ready for that coming up. So just like the pros do, they're going to sit on the tables and sign autographs, and I think it's going to be great for the kids. Dale Darling is putting on the Power Wheels racing. Mm-hmm. Did it at Paradise Speedway last year, and it was a lot of fun to have the kids come out. Now, this is open to anybody who wants to do it. It just requires that you have to have a, it sounds so funny to say this because I'm a racing guy, but you have to have a stock Power Wheels.
Right.
Okay, so there's no outlaw modified winged Power Wheels. But they run any 12-volt battery, and the only rule is if you're running a wet cell, it has to be covered up to protect the driver.
Sure.
So race fans out there, the kid's got a Power Wheel sitting out in the garage, charge it up, bring the charger, we'll have the course set up, they race for trophies, the winners get trophies, and we got power to charge them back up. So that's a biggie too, the Power Wheels racing. And once again, it's Dale Darling is putting that on. The same one that did the show at Paradise for us last year.
With Crash Course, one of the shows that's here on Finger Lakes 1 on Monday nights, they travel all over the place, and we've seen Power Wheels derbies in different places. And at some of these events, there's up to 70 of them on the track at one time, but their dads have gotten a hold of them. Their moms and dads have decided to modify them a little bit for their sons, daughters, nephews, nieces, godchildren, whatever it might be. So they show up, they've got screws across the studs or across the lugs on the plastic tires so they get better grip. They got lawnmower batteries that are mounted inside them with all these different reinforcements. The best one that we've seen is a guy who put stacks on it out the hood, made out of PVC pipe, and dropped dry ice inside it so it smoked.
That's original.
It was.
I think I did that in a 4-cylinder stock one time.
It was pretty neat. But yeah, those kids are going to have a ball. Now, is this going to be oval style or is this going to be road course?
We were thinking, we have the empty store space where Jo-Ann Fabrics used to be in the mall.
Okay.
And it's about an 11,000 square foot store. So I think that we're looking more towards a road course type of thing.
Right.
Because the oval course for Power Wheels, because they're so limited on speed, they max out. As soon as you hit the pedal, they're maxed right out.
Right.
We wanted to give the kids a little bit of a driving challenge more than just going around the oval. Because with the Power Wheel, once you're in the inside, you just run the inside to keep anybody from getting ahead of you and you're done. So we're kind of looking at that as possibly a road course. There's 3 different age divisions to run. I believe it's 4 and under, and then 5 to 8 and 9 to 12, I believe.
Excellent.
So, and that's also if you go to the Facebook page for Finger Lakes Speedworld, the rules and everything are posted there, and the age groups are also posted there.
Excellent. Speedworld March 19th and 20th at the Finger Lakes Mall in Auburn, right there on 5 and 20. I'm glad to see that there's some life coming back to Finger Lakes Mall as well. I mean, you guys being able to bring the show back and taking this new direction, it's been met with pretty good response. You've got a number of the different Mike Rod clubs that are going to be involved with it as well. And then on top of that, you've also got Twisted RC that has embraced this fully with all sorts of different events planned through the weekend.
Yeah, Brian just opened up that shop over there. He was running out of Cortland. He had a shop down there in the track and actually in the Homer area, I believe. So he's opened up this place in the Auburn Mall. Now, I have to tell you about the mall's marketing director at Finger Lakes Mall, a guy named Ben Gleason. Now, he is 150% dedicated to making that mall go. And you cannot rely on the chain stores anymore because big box stores have completely ruined it for the small stores. You know, the old, like the Abercrombie store and all those stores like that used to survive on people walking through, foot traffic and everything like that. That's over. And anybody who's renting mall space is renting it at a large mall or an outlet mall. They're not in the small strip malls anymore, and that's why they're all going away.
Yep.
So Ben's concentration has been on bringing in local business to the mall, giving people a shot to get out there and support the community, and that's what they're doing. There's a number of shops open in the mall that are local business people coming in and trying it out. Some are only open a few days a week. Brian is open for practice every day. They have racing on Saturdays. His schedule is getting worked out, but he's only been open for 2 weeks.
Right.
And he's doing very well out there. Very positive guy. He's a great guy to work with. And and Twisted RC has really helped us a lot as far as putting the show together. They're providing a lot of sponsorship for as far as getting the show off the ground this year, because as I got the show, I picked it up and I have no sponsors. I'm doing this all completely on my own.
Right.
So, and Brian's facility is kind of unique because most RC facilities either have a dirt track or a carpet track. Brian's track is athletic turf, and it gives a really different feel for racing. Now, you being an RC guy, you know your stuff. Every single track surface is different. Just like, you know, racing big cars, you go from one track's clay to another track's clay. It's going to be different.
Right.
So it's a whole different challenge for these guys to come in and run that road course because they have to change tires up, and you know there's different things they can do because turf is very different to race on. So, and Brian is he's obviously pushing for our other big event, which I've hired a very qualified guy. I didn't hire him, but you know I kind of suckered him into doing this demolition derby for looking at for the show here. I think I put the right guy in charge of that. I hope.
Hope so.
Yeah. And we're doing that is Sunday, right, at 1 o'clock?
That's right.
And the sign-ups are at 11 a.m., so you're going to want to get down for that. And I don't know, I guess I'll let you talk more about that because you're the guy, you're my derby guy.
Well, what we're probably going to do, Jim, is we're going to have you back on the crash course in a couple weeks. And we're going to have you come on, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that then. Just for anybody that's interested, Motorama's got that RC Derby, and unfortunately we don't have additional racing divisions that are overlapping in rapid enough fashion where we could offer this, but the RC Derby winner at Motorama is going to have a free entry to the Derby up here on the 20th, and the winner from the Ohio event, which is coming up over with David Tillery and Keith Rourke, that winner is also going to get a free entry to this. Now, can we guarantee that they come? No, but the lure's certainly in the water. I'm excited about the prospect of this Mud Boss thing coming together as well.
Yeah, that's pretty big. And this is, now, years ago I raced RC cars, and we ran carpet cars, little bowl-length cars with the asphalt bodies on them.
Right.
And, you know, over the years it's kind of dwindled. And like racing, you know, it goes through evolutions where it's really big for a while, and then it kind of goes away, and then it comes back. And that largely has to do with the economy, how much money people have to spend on toys.
Right.
Even if I'm broke, if I got to sleep outside, I'm buying some toys. I don't care what happens there, but it's because I'm a race car guy.
Right.
So, But the Mud Boss class, now I know that they run pretty solid up at Radio Hill.
Big time.
And and it's a very popular thing, and it seems like it's a relatively inexpensive way to break the ice to get into RC racing.
Very much so.
Yeah, because I mean you're basically running a stock chassis. You really can't do any modifications to it, and you have to replace it all stock parts. So you're not spending a fortune to rebuild a car and upgrade it. You're keeping it about the same.
Yep.
And I've heard people complaining about having to spend money on the modified body, but what are you going to do? I mean, any kind of racing, you're going to have to go into your pocket for something. And what you have to do is you have to show somebody the build sheet on a low-C car or a bowling car and say, here's a car. You're going to have $1,500 to $2,000 in this car, or you can build this one for around $300. What do you want to do?
Right. Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And Brian's all for it. He has an oval configuration. Takes him a little bit of time to break down the jumps and everything and set up his track into an oval. But if the interest in the class is there and they can set it up, then he will definitely have practice available, and they will make a race night for the Mud Boss class out there. And I love him. I love to watch. Even if they're little modifieds, I'll watch them.
That's right. That's one of the things that hooked me. I know Stephen Ovens from Turn 5 Podcast, he's got a Mud Boss now. And then over there at Radio Hill, the Battle of the Bosses 200 is coming up on the 28th. That's another afternoon show as well. There's people talking about coming from Virginia and Pennsylvania for that. And that's got a little bit of a payout. We've got some help from Fulton and Brewerton Speedways. We've got some help from Catskill Fabrication and Performance. We've got Napa behind us as well on the 200 lapper, which is scheduled for, again, the 28th at Radio Hill. So I'm excited about the prospects of that, and we've already talked a little bit with Radio Hill and with the Action World, Craft World Action Hobbies in Jamestown, and now Twisted RC. Everybody's running pretty much the same rule book. The only difference is low center of gravity cars on the carpet. We've got to find somehow to blend all that together, but there's a track in Fulton that's running the same rules as well, possibly getting a little bit of a early spring series together. We go to a couple of these different tracks and possibly even factor in the bakery once they get open up there north of Rochester. So a couple different options out there for everybody. I know Radio Hill's the place that I like to go because that's the first place I've gone. I'm anxious to see what everything works out like on that flat track on the turf. I expect a lot of rollovers when everybody starts it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know a guy who he's a close personal friend of mine, happens to be a photographer at Paradise Speedway that got into it this year, and he's all smiles. So if he's happy, everybody's happy. Yeah, he's. I was talking with him today about the prospect of getting a low center gravity car, and he said he's not interested since he can't drive the one that he's got now. Oh, he just wants to stay on the dirt, huh?
Yep, stay with the dirt. So which is good though, because I mean we're looking at that same body configuration, motor combination for Twisted. So there's certainly some potential there. I'm going to try and get him to come out on the 19th and 20th and see if we can turn some laps with his 43 car.
Well, I think he's going to be there anyways because I know Mark and Mike Scataglia are going to be representing Paradise Speedway. They'll have M&M.
Oh, that's right.
Out there, so they'll be there.
That's right. They don't have a choice. They have to go.
Yeah, right. we've already got them. So, anyways, yeah. So yeah, the Mud Boss class, we would like to. That's something that we would definitely like to see grow around here because Northeast. You get out of the Northeast and you don't see the modified racing as much as you do here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's big, it's local, and a lot of guys that are racing the big cars all summer, they're running RC cars in the wintertime.
Yes, they are.
And it's just not as publicized. I mean, there's no such thing as, there's no real, big, huge publicity shows or anything like that for RC cars.
Right.
So I think it's time that people start taking it seriously.
I think it's certainly moving up the ladder. People can laugh and joke about it all they want, but it's a ton of fun once you get into it. I'm looking forward to getting back down to Radio Hill soon, and also next week with the prospect of possibly getting some track time over at Twisted. I think we're talking about making the trip over next Wednesday as well, which will be a ton of fun as we inch closer and closer to Speedworld. Again, it's going to be March 19th and 20th. A couple more items of note here. First, Saturday, 8 o'clock, Castle Creek is going to perform live, but also all weekend we've got the Homemade Hall of Fame, which I think is a neat twist. Again, it's one of those interactive angles that you were talking about, Jim.
Yes, sir. The Homemade Hall of Fame. Now, where this comes up is I have heard so many stories about people who have like these huge collections of stuff from local tracks in their house.
Right?
Where it started was going on Facebook, and I'm a history buff. I have stacks of Shangri-La programs and Oswego Eagles and old Gator Racing News, things like that. So I started going through all these programs, and I see these pages on Facebook where people are sharing pictures and stuff like that. So I started sharing pictures. And then it just starts the firestorm of everybody commenting and posting, and, it's great. So my idea was, instead of just sharing on Facebook, why don't you bring some stuff out so we can see it? And so we do have some people that are going to set up little displays, and everybody, and I mean everybody, is welcome to participate. And bring a table, bring a little TV if you've got some movies from a racetrack or something like that you want to show. Bring out your die cast, your miniatures. If you build, there's a couple of guys that build 124th scale model kits.
Mm-hmm.
Like your MPC plastic model kits.
Yep.
They buy a 32 Ford kit and they cut it up and make a modified out of it. They build the roll cages out of parts trees.
Yep.
Very, very difficult stuff to do. Very tedious little work. But, I mean, some of these cars are just so cool.
You should see the Derby cars.
Yeah.
Again, wrong show, but we'll get into that sometime.
Yeah, but, and even that, But here's the thing. So people want to, let's say they're a big Oswego Speedway fan. They're a huge Brewerton Speedway fan. They've gone to every Super Dirt Week since the first one. Bring your stuff out. And it'll be inside of one of the empty store spaces, and it'll be able to be locked up at night. Once again, there's 24-hour security at the mall, so you never have to worry about any of your stuff. It's video cameras everywhere. It's totally monitored. You never have to worry about anything being unsafe.
Right.
And again, with the guys that are displaying cars, if anybody's bringing a car out to display, there's tons of parking out behind the mall for haulers and stuff like that, and everything is secured, so you don't have to worry about any of that. But so homemade Hall of Fame, bring a table, bring out car parts. I've got a piece of the front wing off the John Player Special when it ran at Watkins Glen. During a practice session, it hit the wall. Big piece of it came off. My father picked it up out of a garbage can.
Wow.
At home. So I have about a 18 to 20 inch square piece of the front end of the John Player Special. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
They would know what that is if they found it. If I die tomorrow, it's going to end up in a dumpster because nobody that I live with knows what that piece of racing history is.
Right.
Well, they do now because they're probably streaming this in the kitchen as we speak.
Let's hope so. The Homemade Hall of Fame thing, I think that's a great twist. Do you remember I don't remember what scale it was in, but the guy that used to maintain a model of, I used to see it at train shows, and I think it used to appear periodically at the Motorsports Expo, which that's coming up soon. I think Gator Racing News Motorsports Expo is going to be the 12th and 13th of March, the week before Speedworld. So they don't overlap. So if you got the chance if you want to catch both of them, by all means, you've got the opportunity to do so. It was a Oswego Speedway, but it had all the cars. It had all the proper bodied modifieds that would have been racing there. It had cars on trailers. It had a pit area, and it was one of the first. I think the lineup generally tried to mirror one of the first of the Classic Weekend. Right.
Yeah, it was. That's an incredible amount of work. I was on Northeast Vintage Modifieds on Facebook, and they're a great group of guys. They're vintage modified racers. They run primarily down in Middletown area out to Fonda. It's about as far as they come this way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy on there that he's probably got 30 or 40 models that he's done over the past 30 years. And they are all from Middletown Speedway. Like every car that ever ran there in the early days of Middletown,
wow,
he made a model of that car, and just the work that goes into it is unbelievable.
And are they are coming up or no?
I don't know if they're coming up to the show or not. I put the word out there. It's quite a haul for them. So are they invited? Absolutely. I would love to see them there. But in this case, I do understand it was kind of short notice. To tell you the truth, I've only been working on this show for about 3 or 4 weeks now.
Right. How did it come to be that you got your hands on this show?
Well, I started displaying at the show with Starlight Speedway from down in Trumansburg.
Okay.
And I brought up a couple of we had those Hurricane sprinters that we raced down there, old 13 horsepower Honda engines on these 270 micro sprint chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just came up and displayed a couple of cars. And all I could think of was, wow, this is a really great little show here, because we used to do, when I ran four-cylinder stocks at Finger Lakes Speedway, we did the mall show at Great Northern Mall every year.
Right.
And it was always a car show. Shiny cars, don't touch, can't sit in the car. There's no driver. There's never any drivers there. They never wanted to hang around with their cars. So this was cool that all these people were there. And there was, like, the racing tractors, the grass car series was there, go-karts there, there's micros there, and the big cars, all the way up. Oswego Speedway 2-seater super modified was there, and I thought that was great. So every year, I made it a point to make sure that no matter what I was doing in the racing community, that I was involved with that show somehow. Now, the show was run by Finger Lakes Media Group, and Paul Small put the show on from previously Dirt Motorsports. Now he's kind of doing his own thing with Finger Lakes. They put the show on. Last year, there wasn't a lot of interest in the show, so this year it was really on the fence whether Finger Lakes Media Group wanted to do the show or not, and they just decided that they didn't want to pursue it any further. And so I got a phone call and a couple of text messages, and next thing you know, I'm in charge of the show.
Just like that?
Kind of. Yeah, I didn't want to see it die. I really had high hopes for it last year. I did a lot of work with the show last year, had a huge display set up, mostly for Paradise Speedway, but I had some personal racing history stuff, my own personal homemade Hall of Fame. And, it went over well, but the problem is without some serious promotion, nobody knows about this show because it's in a mall that does not have a lot of foot traffic.
Sure.
So people just breezing in, they don't know that the show is going on until they reach the doorway and, there's Ray Hendershot's car sitting inside. Why is there dirt modified inside the mall?
Right.
So that's where it went last year, and this year I decided, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make something out of this show, and if it goes, it goes, and if it doesn't, I gave it my best.
True. You got to stick with it. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to get his footing, I think, with the new direction that you're taking it, but I think it's the right direction. I think you're going to get a lot of that interaction that you're hoping for, and that's going to help put this on the radar. I think you're doing the right things and making a lot of good decisions with it.
Yeah, the other display that I wanted to talk to you about, this is way thinking outside the box, and something that you don't generally see at racing shows. I kind of reserve some space for something that I call race cars deconstructed. And the way that this works is I myself have my father's last race car sitting in my backyard. It's an old 87 Troyer. It's pretty useless unless you're going to go vintage racing with it. It's a nice straight car. It's got some Bicknell updates on it, but I bought it back, and there it sits. So my idea was to trail it out to the show. It's a roller. There's your chassis, there's your rear end, there's your front axle, pieces, parts, got some torsion tubes and some Jacob's ladder stuff and a couple of W-links and whatnot laying around. Then I had some other guys say, well, I can get you a motor, I can get you a tranny. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to set up a display of a chassis so people can see the guts of a race car, what goes into it. Why is this car different from the one that I drive to work every day?
Right.
And, is this a a Chevy Cobalt with just really big tires on it? No, it's an entire tube chassis car from front to back that was engineered in a shop someplace, and this is what goes into it. This is why one tire squeaks when it goes around the corner versus why is this tire skidding around the corner? Well, this is why, because this is the breakdown of what a quick change rear end looks like. This is what locked gears look like. So I've got some stuff coming in for that. I'm inviting anybody who has a car, a part, or just pieces parts and wants to display, please get a hold of me. I'm sure we'll hand out some information here pretty soon about how you can reach me. But that's the race cars deconstructed display. I really, I don't know if it's going to go so big this year, but next year definitely.
Right.
And I want to see some interactive stuff. Also, the other thing is if you're a racer and that small block 358 Chevy that you grenaded at Weedsport or whatever, still have it, bring it out. And then you can take a minute and stand there and say, this is what failed. This is why it went, because, was it the rod that broke? Did the crank split? Did the case give out? Whatever. I mean, that's, it's interesting stuff, believe it or not. And,
absolutely.
it's a boat anchor sitting out behind the garage. If you haven't scrapped it already. So.
Right. Scrap's awful low. Probably still have that stuff around.
Right.
Well, I mean, you made reference to it. I think now is probably as good a time as any if you want to let everybody know how to get a hold of you and how to find Finger Lakes Speedworld. I know if you just punch it into the search bar on Facebook, Finger Lakes Speedworld, it came right up for me. You can find it that way, but how about other ways to get a hold of Jim Olin?
Okay. Well, first of all, like I said, check it through Facebook. But the quickest way to get me is just to pick up the old phone there, and I'm at area code 315-632-8046. And that's my cell number. You can reach me during the day. If you need to be set up for anything for the show, if you want a display out there, we have unlimited space, but it's going quick. Things are filling up. So the RC Derby and the Power Wheels Racing is taking one of our larger spots that we had. The old Olympia Sports Store has the Syracuse Mile History exhibit in it. So those are two spaces that are gone. The hallway spaces will fill up as they go. But once again, the quickest way is, like I said, dial me up. I have all the entry forms and everything here. And I tried to handle everything that way because waiting for stuff to come in the mail or having to have people email me, and I didn't want to do an online form because
right.
You know how that goes.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, I gotta punch buttons. I got to sit in front of my computer, and I can't do it.
And again, that number to get a hold of Jim, 315-632-8046, 315-632-8046. We've got that in the lower corner of the screen. On the topic of the off-season parties, just quickly, RFH Hideaway. That party is this weekend, the Winter Blast for Fulton and Brewerton Speedway. They're going to have the Hideaway, which is just south of the Speedway on Route 57. Casual dress, free to attend. Come and hang out. The Driver Point Fun trophies and monies are going to be handed out there. And also, you can watch the finale of the Dirt Car Nationals, which are streamed via Dirt Vision, right there on the big screen at RFH Hideaway. If you got additional questions, you can jump on Facebook at facebook.com/RFHS-Hideaway. Or you can get a hold of Corey Reed if you got additional questions, Corey at FultonSpeedway.com. Winter office number 315-638-4056 to find out more on that. That's this weekend. You going to make your way up there and hang out with those guys?
Oh, I don't know. My plate's pretty full right now. I'm actually gearing up for Paradise Speedway's banquet, which is coming up on March 6th. And hoping to make it out there for that one because I have to present it. in addition to all of my other duties here with Finger Lakes Speedworld, I'm also an employee of Paradise Speedway out in Geneva as well. So my plate gets pretty full coming up here in another month or so.
You keep yourself pretty busy. That weekend in March, I believe, is the same weekend as a Guerrero Racing Party right here in Seneca Falls, the Elks Lodge. They've got their year-end banquet coming up on the 27th of February. This weekend, on the 20th, down in Owego, New York, is the Northeast banquet. So there's a big motorsports get-together down there. And March 5th and 6th at Canandaigua Motorsports Park, they've got the Snowcross, which has 4-, 6-, and 8-cylinder enduro races on the 5th. You can find out more at eastcoastsnowcross.com, EastCoastsNowcross. So pretty much safe to say that the racing season's upon us at this point because we've got the Paradise Banquet and the Snowcross on the 5th and the 6th. We've got the 12th and 13th, which is Motorsports Expo. The 19th and 20th is Speed World. And I think Canandaigua's opener is planned for the 2nd of April.
Yeah, Paradise Speedway, we open up third weekend in April. You think I know that right now, but my brain is completely fried. We have practice for all Speedway divisions on the 16th of April, and the track opens on the 23rd.
If you can believe that. There is no off-season anymore, is there?
No, and, that's, I guess the good thing with especially like the RC racing we talked about there is it keeps you from spending too much money over the winter, because when you get bored and that thirst, that racing it's a drug, and it's just constantly eating away at you all winter, and you get that cabin fever, and maybe going out and running your Mud Boss car might be the thing that keeps you from going and buying a 2016 Bicknell.
It could be.
Maybe just running that car one more season, you know what I mean?
It could be. It could be. Yeah. It's only about $350 to get in one of those Mud Bosses, and then I think you tack on another $60 or so to get a wrap on it. So I mean, you're not spending, you're into it for under $500 without too much trouble.
Yeah.
Then you start.
The guys do it every weekend. It seems like a lot of fun.
There's 3 or 4 tracks right here within an hour or so of Waterloo and Seneca Falls that you can go run one of those at. But before long, you're going to be making a regular trip over to Auburn Mall, Finger Lakes Mall, to check out Twisted RC. They're going to be part of Finger Lakes Speedworld coming up on the 19th and 20th of March. Jim, is there anything else that you want us to know about or want to make mention of here before we pack it up for the night?
Well, we just have. I just want to thank a few people that have helped me out with the show here, if I could.
Definitely.
Well, I was in contact with the folks down at Little Wheels down there, Freeville area, and their southern tier. I just want to put a quick plug in for Little Wheels. Now, they are a microd group down there. They have a little track, and something that they do is completely outside the box of what we do for racing. They rent microds down there. You can rent the car for the whole season. So
Really?
If you're a parent, you want to get your kid into racing, and you don't want to go out and spend $1,500, $2,000 on a microd, you can go down there and rent one, and it's relatively cheap for the whole season.
Wow.
They will be displaying at Speedworld, and they'll have plenty of information. The people that run that are just wonderful people, and one of the things that really got me is that they provide cars for special needs kids.
That's
they
awesome.
have microds that are hand control. So if there's something where the kids can't use their legs or they have problems with their extremities or something like that, man, they can still get in a race car. And
That's excellent.
that generally, certain things really exclude kids from racing. So that opens up some doors for kids that might not have had those opportunities in the past. So that's Little Wheels down in Freeville. The Sodas Microd Club and the Syracuse Microd Club will be displaying with us this year.
Mm-hmm.
Big shout out to the folks at Paradise Speedway. They will obviously be there. M&M Photography, Mark Markworth, Mike Scataglia,
Mm-hmm.
also Taylor Moran will be there with Taylor Moran Photography, who Mark and Mike have been helping her get her feet wet in the racing photography business. She does wonderful, wonderful work.
Nice.
So we'll see her out there. Big shout out to the Rebel Outlaws, the guys that run those snowmobile-powered sprint cars down there at Starlight Speedway in Trumansburg.
Mm-hmm.
They will be displaying with us. They have 5 to 7 cars out. That'll be Eric Wright's group coming out. Like
Okay.
I said, once again, 5 to 7 cars from them coming out to the mall show. So they're going to be there in force. And those guys are a riot to watch because those cars are fast. So that's the Rebel Outlaws. They come from Starlight Speedway down in Trumansburg. And another famous racing photographer, famous in a small town, regular Saturday night photographer at Skyline Raceway, Ted Schmidt. Ted's Racing Photos. Ted will be there on hand with us all weekend. Ted has an extensive history of vintage racing photographs. And just about any racer that you can think of that ran dirt or asphalt, Southern Tier, Northern Pennsylvania, all around there, he's been everywhere.
That's awesome.
He has your photographs, so you're going to want to stop and see Ted, too. He's reasonable with his prices, with his prints and everything like that. And if he doesn't have it with him, he probably has it at home. But
Right.
He brings a lot of stuff with him. He'll be here all weekend.
He sure does.
So, and quick shout-out to Dr. Gary George for coming out. He's going to be coming out and doing that presentation with the Syracuse Mile history. Very knowledgeable guy. Special thanks to the guys over there at the Hall of Fame, Jack Spino and Joe Murata. Joe will be on hand with us at the show on Saturday, possibly on Sunday. And to Dale Darling for getting together the Power Wheels racing thing. And thanks to you for helping out with the RC Demolition Derby.
Oh, no problem.
And quick plug in there for Brian Rosado over there at Twisted RC. For without him, this would not be happening.
Well, it's good that everybody was able to get together on the same page and make this thing move forward the way that it is. I'm certainly looking forward to it.
I am too. Pins and needles, fingers crossed.
For
People
sure.
show up. That's what I want.
Definitely. Well, by all means, we're gonna be talking to you again here before too long and getting an update on how things are progressing. And we'll plan on being out there and doing the live show again from Finger Lakes Mall. Again, it's going to be the Speed World, March 19th and 20th. Jim, man, thank you for coming on the show and spending some time with us. I can't believe we covered 45 minutes here talking about this and tried to hit most of the high points. And again, if there's anything else we can do to help you out, be sure to let us know.
No, I was glad to be on, and 45 minutes went by like 10.
Well, we'll do it again here in a little bit on the crash course on Monday.
Outstanding.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Jim.
Thanks, Chris.
There goes Jim Olin overseeing Finger Lakes Speedworld, March 19th and 20th. We look forward to being out there live. It's an exciting time. Sounds like they got a lot of stuff going on out there. I'm particularly interested in the tribute to the mile, and timed that right. Battery just died on the phone. We knew we were getting close, so the battery just went dead on the phone there as we were talking with Jim. Looking forward to the tribute to the mile, and then also I think that's going to be a fun time seeing that the dissection of the race cars, all those blown motors and chassis parts. You can see the guts of the race car. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, March 19th and 20th. That's going to do it for this edition of the 31st Lap. We'll see you right back here again next week.